teams, like if I can give you any advice again out there, it's like having the hard conversations even when you don't want to. I mean, I can't tell you the number of hours, either together or separately, we have spent with our kids explaining how the standards, how it's going to go, what the word says, and just really showing them what it looks like, you know, to have each other's back. Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world. Okay, everybody, we're back. We are on this topic. This would be part 3 of the topic of how we operate as a team. And in this one, we want to talk a little bit about how we're not just a family at home, but we're a family all the time. You want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, I think a couple different examples I can think of. You know, number one, I will tell you is in sports with our kids right now, the big girls, Abby and Bella, are moving into sophomore year of high school. And Chrissy's moving into freshman year of high school. And I was really proud of the girls because, you know, at home, all the kids play together, whether it's tennis, basketball, you know, street hockey, running, whatever it may be. You know, they're a tight unit and they play all the time. I mean, we got our own team here for every sport.
Yeah.
And they do really well. But how great it is that we've been teaching them things on how to be a team even outside of our home. And for us, some of the examples of that is sports in this situation where Abby and Bella have had the opportunity to meet friends already in high school, being on the tennis team and being on the golf team. And they have planned some opportunities where they would get to go play with some of their friends, go play tennis, go play golf, whatever it may be, even get an opportunity to get some personal training from the tennis coach and stuff like that. And how great it was that as they were saying yes to these opportunities, they were asking if their younger sister, Chrissy, could come with them. That when their coach says, hey, high school members, if you want some more training for tennis, please show up, you know, Saturday at noon or something like that. And their first response was, we'd love to, but could our sister join us? She's coming next year and she's going to be trying out for varsity also. Right. We'd love for her to have the opportunity. Right. Never once worried that if they invited her, she might move ahead or get more training or get an opportunity to be on the varsity before them or anything like that. That they truly understand that we're a team on the court and at home. And so, and even today they went and played with some of their friends, and Chrissy went along and introducing them already to some of the sophomores and juniors that she's going to be playing with next year to help her feel comfortable and excited about coming and trying out. And I just think it's so important because so many times I've seen where even kids will go to sports. Same thing with our younger kids. I mean, our younger kids run track together, Drews and Ellie do and stuff, and just making sure that you're looking out for your siblings at all times. I can't tell you how many times I've driven up to get the kids and I see, you know, Ellie may be talking with somebody and Drews is kind of listening on the side, you know, to make sure the conversation is a good conversation for her to be in and not just forgetting that, you know, he's a big brother in that situation, that we don't just leave our family member on their own, you know, or I think it was Drewsy was dealing with some little boy that was stealing his water bottles and stuff like that. Remember that? Like some little kid that was being somewhat of a punk was stealing, you know, water and doing all that stuff. And we said, no, that is not okay. That's absolutely not okay. You're not going to. So what happened? Chrissy took over because she was there too. And it's like, if that happens, I'm going to come over and say something. As your older sibling, I'm going to make sure that's taken care of, you know? And so I just think it's so important how we teach our kids that if you win at every sport and you never care about your sibling that is right there on the court or right there, you know, running next to you, making sure they're safe, then why does it matter? You know, family is so important.
Yeah, you know, and for those of you listening, you know, I got to tell you, hon, like I'm remembering all of the work that went in when they were just starting like school years, right? When they started interfacing with other kids quite a bit. And, you know, there was a lot of dynamics. I don't know if you remember when it was like almost Bella and Abby I mean, we're talking like they're 6, 7 years old now, when they were getting interfaced with other kids, and then one kid would kind of like one of them more than the other one.
I only want to invite this one over.
And and the other one would be a little hurt, and then they would almost get a little competitive, like almost like, yeah, I kind of want this one just to like me more. And remember that? And you had to have some real conversations with them, and really building that foundation that, hey, family is best friends. We don't really. I mean, we can have great friends, but our families are best friends. And really describing what it means to be siblings and what it means to be family, and why we always have each other's back, and how even though you can have friends, but you need to, we don't get competitive and like kick somebody out. Like this matters, And so,
Well, and even when they were that young, I mean, at that point we had them going to school at a Montessori. That was before we homeschooled.
yeah.
And it's always interesting. You got to love the parents that never know that their kid's the ornery kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you're just oblivious. Like, you just,
sure.
It's always interesting.
Or they only label it as strong-willed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless
or
of
they're going through a season.
How undisciplined it is.
Yeah. They're going through a season. Gotcha. How long is that lasting for?
Yeah.
But I just remember, there would be a girl. Well, I like you, but I don't like your sister. So she can come over and play with us, and I just remember telling the girls, first of all, anybody that says that to you is not a nice person. That is not nice. We do not exclude, number one, no matter if it's a sibling or not. We do not exclude people. Number two, how hurtful that she would want you to say, no, sister, you can't come over.
Or oblivious. Right.
Supposedly, but yes. Like, yeah.
Well, either way, though, you know. And then, having our kids actually really have this conversation, be like, okay, so let's just say, for example, somebody did that and said, I like you, Abby, I don't like you, Bella, or something, right? But then having the conversation and be like, hey, Abby, that probably made you feel important, didn't it? And she's probably like, yeah, it did make me kind of feel important, that I got chosen, Right. And I said, okay, but let's switch it. And let's just say that person said this about Bella and you're left there and you're the one that has to go walk away or not get invited. How does that feel? She's like, well, that feels awful. I said, exactly. And you got to always think about both sides of this. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's why we kind of, for us, again, it went into our standards that we talked about a long time ago, is that, obviously our first 3 kids are very similar in age, very similar. But if you can't invite all of us, then we're all not coming. We don't. And sometimes we were like, well, what if they have a friend that they became really close to? Okay, but if that was a good friend, she'd understand that we're all friends.
That's right.
And so we just made a decision, that if you can't invite all 3 because of whatever, the numbers, the cost, whatever it may be, then none of us will come. And we're going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because it's better to be on the same team as a family than to just compromise and feel happy that you were the one chosen for a second.
Well, and then you throw in the other strategic part of this for us, and that is, the reality is there's a lot of craziness in today's world.
Totally.
And the majority of kids out there, they don't get taught like our kids get taught. Whether it's even just about screens and everything else, and how we just don't do that stuff at young, impressionable ages. We don't trust anything that's out there on the media that it won't be harmful, like literally.
Yeah.
And so we don't know if one of our kids walking into an atmosphere at that age would get pulled into something like that. So when they all 3 go, now there's accountability. Now they look out for each other, right?
And they can walk away from things together. And, and then we have our son and our youngest, and, we have a boy than a girl. And, we've had to learn a lot too, even with him, to make sure that we choose wise friends for him, because he unfortunately would get in situations where like maybe he was invited to something and we didn't know fully what was going on at the time. And he was there sometimes by himself, not feeling as confident because they're doing things that aren't the standard of our house. Whether it was movies or certain video games or conversations or whatever it may be. And we've had to navigate that. I will just say, in today's world, one of our biggest strengths is making sure that everybody understands that we're a team to be reckoned with. We are going to come on strong. We want the standards to be high. So if you invite any of us to do something, we want it to be first class standards. Otherwise, we're perfectly okay with saying no to things.
Yeah, that's a great point on we teach our kids that we bring atmosphere.
That's right.
That we are the thermostats, not the thermometers. But us as parents, we can't put our kids into atmospheres
Right.
where there's no way they could even be a thermostat.
Correct.
Right. They could only be a thermometer because of all the different dynamics and their age and their maturity and everything else. So it's better to not show up in that room.
Correct.
Than to put them in the room and have them be forced to be a thermometer.
And then put them in a situation that, of course, we're going to have to correct what happened, but really we need to correct us.
Yeah.
Because we're not doing very well as parents protecting them. And I will just say, I don't know about you guys. I'll speak for myself. I don't know how many times I've shown up to something knowing that I probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Like learning the hard way myself.
Yeah.
I've showed up and I'm like, this is nothing I should be going around. And it could be anything, conversations, atmosphere, caliber of what's happening, whatever. At least I can excuse myself and get in my car and take off, and I can make an exit for myself. If we don't allow that for our kids and we don't teach them, then we're putting them in situations that are lowering the standard, and then you're getting after them.
That's right. And we just had to fix this recently,
right.
With some friends of ours that, we've always really enjoyed spending time, in particular me. And then they had a little one, and their little one is probably what I would consider one of those undisciplined, strong-willed kids. Mm-hmm. And so, that little one will sometimes, when we have our youngest who's just learning and is trying to kind of get her to do things that she shouldn't be doing, that go against our family standards. And she does know it, but then she's just like, you can see that first time we ever put her in this atmosphere for a full day, because we're trying to navigate this friendship plus this, and our hope was that we would kind of parent similarly, but then we don't. And so now our poor little girl is sitting there like totally exhausted because she doesn't know how to hold her standards at her young age, but also how to fit in with this girl. And so, we had to make a choice, you and I. We're like, well, listen, if this is the way it's going to be, we got to find different ways to connect with these guys and really limit the amount of time that our young daughter gets with their daughter, because it's just not healthy for her. And it's important because, the reality is, at the end of the day, each and every one of our kids, and one of the reasons that they, I think they listen to us so well, is because they have learned over time to be able to trust us so well. They know that we make mistakes, but our intention is to protect them. Our intention is to equip them, and we're going to do the best we can. So even if that means we have to sacrifice a couple things that might be enjoyable in order to do that, we're going to do it. And I think we've just done that so consistently over time. And when we haven't done it right, we've asked for forgiveness, and they've forgiven us. And so, because of that, we don't really get a lot of pushback from them,
It is, but I think a lot of it comes from these conversations. Like, if I can give you any advice again out there, it's like having the hard conversations even when you don't want to. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't tell you the number of hours, either together or separately, we have spent with our kids explaining how the standards, how it's going to go, what the word says, and just really showing them what it looks like, to have each other's back, in our family. And then they see it from you and I. I mean, parents are the best example, right? So when we're on the same page about things, then they're willing to be on our page. Mm-hmm. But if we're not, everyone's just fending for themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think it goes back to, again, making sure that we're having our mini team meetings. We're having our communications. We are making sure that we know how we're going to correct the situation at hand. And then there's also really cool things, which maybe we want to talk about in the next one, but just hitting on the fun of being a team, what that looks like when you are a team and how much fun you have with it. Because I feel like some of the examples we've talked about are kind of, negative ones sometimes, or ones we don't always want to deal with, right? But I will just tell you some of the neat things that happen when you do become such a neat team together, like a tight-knit team, is that, oh my gosh, everybody has so much fun with each other and love supporting each other. I mean, the examples of when we go as a family to do things, the kids have so much fun because they can trust each other, because they can rely on each other.
Yeah.
Because they can count on each other. They don't have to worry, So even if, everybody out there is going crazy, they're having fun because they've chosen to just rely on each other and trust each other.
Yeah. And I, there's so many, you're right. There's so many benefits. There's also the peace.
Yes.
There's so much peace that comes in being in our atmosphere because of all of these standards and everybody being on the same page. Even if we have to step into other atmospheres for a little bit, we get to come home to peace, instead of the opposite sometimes.
Correct.
Which I think a lot of people deal with. And And, I think, well, you and I both, we think a lot about the future and what it's going to be like when our kids grow up and they start having kids. And, that's one of the main reasons we're doing this podcast, right? But I can just envision how tight they're going to be the rest of their lives because they've all had this same foundation, and they'll teach all this into their kids. And just think about how much all of their families will be able to interact so well together, carrying these standards together. And, with all of their cousins and, everybody like that. It's going to be a thing of beauty. It's a thing that I think every family should be working towards, in my opinion. And the reality is, you know what? You're going to have to do some work. Because if somebody didn't do it for you, then it is. You have to put some real energy in. I mean, and you have to dig in, and you have to be willing to let your ego down and just realize that some of the stuff that you might do right now maybe isn't right, maybe isn't on track, maybe won't produce these kind of results that you want. And you can either be mad and be defensive about it, or you can just be like, you know what? The future that I want to create for the generations after me matters more than me trying to defend myself or trying to defend what somebody taught me that I love, right? Maybe I just need to think of a new normal that can be started from us down. And, that's what we've done, right? And that's what we're still doing, and we're going to keep working on doing. And hopefully our kids will take everything we've taught them and even improve upon it again, to another level. And that's all that we want for them. So anyways, great stuff, babe.
That's good.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.